Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. We will now be watching the video on Math Notes page 22. Please make sure that you also write the title in your index. If for some reason you wrote on page 22 and you don't have a page 22, go ahead and write on page 23 or page 24. I don't care. As long as you're following along, staying on task, following instructions, I am perfectly fine with you writing on a different page. So the title of this page is Operations with Rational Numbers. And we're going to write it our Cornell style. And the first thing we're going to write is order of operations. Here's your first step. Evaluate expressions inside grouping symbols. So for instance, parentheses and brackets. Brackets are the ones that look like this. Step 2. Multiply and divide from left to right. And step 3. Add and subtract from left to right. Alright, here's a strategy that always helped me in elementary. I don't even know if I learned this in elementary. It just helped me a lot growing up, and it still helps me to this day when I solve operations with rational numbers or expressions or equations. So it's called PEMDAS. Go ahead and draw a line under your steps and write the word in bold writing on the side. PEMDAS. PEMDAS. And what that stands for is P stands for parentheses or brackets. So parentheses or brackets first, everything that's inside. Then it's exponents, which are things like 2 to the third power. So that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So after parentheses, everything you solve inside of a parentheses, you look for any exponents. Then you look for multiplication or division, whichever is first. So you could draw something like this. Left to right, whichever is first. And last but not least, AS, which is addition or subtraction. Again, from left to right, whichever is first. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So we have all of our PEMDAS right there. We have our P, our E, our M, D, A, S. That's the order you do it. Then there's also called a distributive property. So I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds. If you need to finish copying down PEMDAS, go ahead and pause the video because I'm going to change it into a new slide for a distributive property. If you have room on the first page, on page 22, continue writing. If you don't have room, go to the back of page 22. Okay, so now I'm going to write the distributive property. So let's say you have A, parentheses B, plus C. So you have to solve what's inside the parentheses first, but let's say that those numbers are not like terms. So let's say you have something like 3 times 5x plus 2. You cannot combine 5x plus 2. 2 would need to have an x next to it for you to combine them, or 5 would need to be alone without the variable so that you can add these two together. So the distributive property states that when you have combined all like terms inside of a parentheses and you have a number outside, you are to distribute that number by multiplication. So distribute the 3 by multiplying it to 5x, distribute the 3 by multiplying it to 2. So what I do is I draw arrows. So I always draw arrows. So with distributive property, I always draw arrows. And the arrows represent multiplication. So since I draw my arrows over there, I'd have AB plus AC, because those are being multiplied together. In this case right here with our example, you would have 3 times 5x, which you know is 15x, and 3 times 2, which is 6. And what's the symbol between them? Plus. So your expression would now be 15x plus 6. These two are equivalent. That's a distributive property. So let's go ahead and write that out. Multiply coefficient (3) to each term inside the parentheses. Okay, now you try an example like this. Let me give it to you. Example 2 times 3x minus 4. So draw your arrows and try to solve it. Pause the video so that you don't get the answer right away. Challenge yourself. Then when you're done solving it and you're ready, play the video again and see if you're right. Alright, so 2 times 3 is 6, but it has an x. 2 times 4 is 8. Now, what's separating the two terms is subtraction. So this expression is equal to 6x minus 8. If you got that, good job. Alright, we're going to move on to more examples. I ran out of room when I was writing notes on a page right here. But if you still have room, you can continue on the first page. If you don't have room, turn the page and work on the back. Okay, you have an example. So, example. And you have negative 6 times negative 1/2 plus 1/3. So here's a strategy. You could find a common denominator inside the parentheses and add those two together and then multiply. Or you can multiply and then find a common denominator and add them. So I'm going to do a distribution first. So I have negative 6 times negative 1/2. Remember to bring the plus in. So that's my first term. And then I have negative 6 times 1/3. Just put a 1 under negative 6. And negative 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. Keep the plus to separate them. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. 1 times 3, right here. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, you could find a common denominator and add them, or if you notice, 2 goes into 6. How many times? 3 times. 3 goes into negative 6, negative 2 times. So you didn't even have to find a common denominator. You just rationalize your fractions. Now you can easily add this. Same sign? Nope. So they're different signs. Subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. Keep the sign of the bigger number. It's positive. Then you are exact. So who would have thought that out of this ugly question, your answer is just positive 1? By using the tools that you now know based on these math notes. So good job if you found that on yourself. Here's the next example. Let's say you have an example, negative 3/4 divided by 10. So I have negative 3/4 divided by 10. A lot of you guys have your own way of solving this. It's fine. Whatever your preference is, that's great. My preference is the ear method. The outside numbers go on the top of the fraction. The inside numbers go on the bottom. I mean the denominator. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. 4 times 10 is 40. And I'm done. Okay? Thank you, Tigers. After writing your notes, please put your Chromebook away. Please put your headphones away. Please remember how to put my headphones away very carefully. Do it quickly and quietly. Once your group is all done, you guys can stack your Chromebooks A, B, C, D, E, F so that you have room to work on the quizette. That quizette was from last week. However, I want you guys to do it as homework. It is due on Thursday because we do not have school this Friday. You will work on that quizette. If you have questions on that quizette, please use your math notes. And then if you can't find it in your math notes, raise your hand. Please remember your social skills. Do not talk to anyone around you. You do have a sub. You must earn an A. If your name is left behind, there will be a lot of consequences. Please do not make me come back to consequences. It is not fun for you, and trust me, it's not fun for me either to be that kind of teacher. I think that's it. So once again, work on your quizette after this quizette video, after these notes video. And after you're done with your quizette, let's say you finish early and there's still time in the period, please work on your digits packet. Thank you, Tigers.